by Terrance McNally, next by, I must have seen that play 100 times, and I loved it. I loved it and loved it. And went on to love you more and more and more. And you're about to bring up someone who has written my most favorite play, which is A Delicate Balance. And I'm very excited to be on stage with both of you, and here it is. Recipient of 4 Tony Awards, for Love, Valor, and Compassion, Masterclass, Ragtime, Kiss of the Spider Woman. He won an Emmy Award for Andre's Mother, and has written the books for the musical, The Full Monty, A Man of No Importance, and The Visit, a libretto for an opera, Dead Man Walking, ladies and gentlemen, legend, introducing legend, Terrance McNally.
I'm very fragile, and ever since my high school, we had Sister John the Baptist, Sadie Hawkins Day amateur contest, and my best friend Peggy Powell won. But after while she was giving her acceptance speech, they came out, Sister John the Baptist, and said they had miscounted the votes. Took her off the stage. And she never recovered. I feel somewhat like her, so I can open this and, okay. A generous introduction. Edward Albee has never written a gay play. And let's not pretend that we don't know what a gay play is. So why is Lambda honoring him with its prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award? It's a good question. Let me try to answer it. Edward has avoided gay subject matter to such a degree that people have wondered if he is indeed gay. Well, I am here to tell you in no uncertain terms that he is. I picked Edward up in 1959. To which I had deliberately not been invited, and so I deliberately crashed it. I thought he was gorgeous and sexy. I also thought he was straight. He will try to tell you that he picked me up. He claims that I was standing in the curve of the grand piano looking fetching. I've never looked fetching in my entire life. One of us is telling the truth, but neither of us is a liar. We are both writers, and we transform the facts into something more interesting, a new play. I believe gay literature has reached a maturity and accomplishment, a sense of pride and comfort with itself that has allowed us to lift our heads up from navels other than our own and take a long, hard look at the world around us. We don't have to write as role models. We are free to write as individuals and not as a minority with an agenda. No playwright has a more specific, unique, or commanding voice than Edward Albee. He has done this since the Zoo Story in 1959, and he did it again this season with me, myself, and I. Along the way, there have been plays that changed the landscape of the American theater. It was always the voice of Edward Albee, a gay artist, and never the generic voice of a gay writer. There was a time I thought Edward should have been more out in his work. There was a time he was reviled by some of us here tonight for his reticence. The gay art police were fierce and vocal coarse. How could you not write about coming out? How could you not address AIDS? Surely our real world as gay men and women, a community threatened to the core of its existence by the health crisis, trumped art and literature. Those were desperate days, and they demanded action, not art. The Prousts, the Michelangelos, the Whitmans, they were for another time. Instead, Edward did his own work, sometimes in the face of much criticism from his brethren. There was a time he worked despite a critical indifference that would have broken a lesser spirit. He worked alone. He suffered his own personal losses. Happily, he has seen a reversal of fortune in the critical and public appreciation of his work. That was denied and perhaps could have sweetened the final days of his immediate predecessor in the pantheon of American playwrights, Tennessee Williams. What finally matters for an artist is the body of work they leave behind. Edward Albee has left us a great body of work. You tell me how gay it is and how much that matters to you. We can argue that one until the wee hours. Just don't try to tell anyone it's not a great body of work. Maybe Edward Albee will tell you how gay it is. Edward?
Let's say to solve the problem as to who picked who up. I think it was sort of a mutual decision. And I'm willing to take both the credit and the blame if Terrance is. In any event, that's 50 years ago. And Terrance and I are still very, very, very close friends. I was about 45 years ago, I was at an outright Congress in San Francisco, an organization very much as Lambda does, examining the nature of homosexuals and lesbians who were writing. And the whole question of gay writing came up. Terrance says, I've never written a gay play. That's quite true. I've written a number of plays that have gay characters in them, but I've never written a play that can be considered a gay play because I consider that a lessening of the creative act to limit oneself to one's own sexual practices as a subject for one's work. Look at the great writers, gay and straight, over the past 100 years or so, 150 years. Examine them. They are capable of writing heterosexuals and homosexuals, men and women, whatever their sexual preferences happen to be. Look at Chekhov. Look at Proust. Look at Tennessee Williams. Look at the man I consider the greatest writer of the second half of the 20th century. Look at Samuel Beckett, who indeed wrote mostly about male characters, but when he turned his mind and his love to a female character, Winnie in Happy Days, he wrote one of the most exquisite portraits of a woman imaginable. A writer who happens to be gay or lesbian must be able to transcend self and write about the needs, the beauties, and the anguishes of us all. And so I got in trouble at that outright Congress. I said, no, I am not a gay writer. I am a writer who happens to be gay. I belong to many minorities, many minorities. I am male. I am white. I am educated. I am creative. I live in what passes for a democracy. On and on. And none of these is a limitation. And I will not accept any definition of my sexual proclivities to be a limitation of me. I happen to be gay, I told them. But I am not a gay writer. I am a writer who is gay, but who, I hope, is able to transcend my personal preferences and write about people, male and female, as they are. I think it's a writer's responsibility to be able to become whomever one writes about. When I write about a male, I write from the point of view of a man. When I write a female character, I become a woman. We must be able to transcend ourselves. If you write about male, female, straight, gay, whatever, you must become that, or your work is going to be superficial and pointless. But on to something more important. We've been losing far too many important writers in the past year, two of whom I wish to talk about just very briefly. Both have the last name Wilson. Lambda Wilson and Doric Wilson. Both gay men, though Doric despised the term and insisted for his entire life, I do not write gay plays, I write queer plays. He didn't pussyfoot around, Doric. He didn't use safe terms. He was a gay man, a queer man who wrote queer drama. He was proud of who he was and proud of people who wrote honestly about themselves. Lantard, another extraordinary playwright, to my memory, wrote very, very few gay characters in his plays. I knew Lantard very well for many years. Lantard was gay. It is how you write, rather than specifically what you write, that makes all of the difference. I do not feel limited to write about gay subjects being gay. I'm only shocked when I read a review of something in Tennessee's, for example, and saw far too many critics will say, this play by gay playwright Tennessee Williams. I have never, once in my life, ever heard or read the following sentence in any review. This play by straight playwright Arthur Miller. Never. These prejudices get in the way. Anyhow, we've been losing too many good people, but we have extraordinary writers. The very best of them write honestly and thoroughly, and they are able to become whomever they need to become. Gay, straight, male, female, young, old, capable of becoming that. And if they can't do that, they're not very good writers. Being a writer is putting down what one sees as the realities. And any definition which is going to limit us is unfortunate and goes beyond that and is deplorable. One is not a gay playwright. One is not a straight playwright. One is a playwright. The only difference is one a fucking good one or a fucking lousy one. Thank you.
Now, what I told her to do when we were talking in the bathroom was if she came up to the podium after me to sniff it, that's what she wasn't going to do. And now that Edward Albee's been here, excuse me. Fantastic. Now, Andrew Tobias. Am I right, Tony? No. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Lambda Literary Foundation board member, Carla Trujillo.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight's about honoring riders.